This is one-on-one session with the Forum IAS founder and director Ayush Sinha. In this session, students are asked questions to test their preparedness for the personality test. One-on-one sessions are not mock panel sessions.
So, Aman, where are you currently located?
So I'm currently in Gurgaon. So I'm working as a summer associate at Bain & Company. So it's my first week here in Gurgaon, sir.
Okay, how's the heat?
So it's very hot, right? So I mean, I can't like gather the guts to go outside on a Saturday evening even, sir. It's very hot.
Chalo, wonderful. So, let us begin with a couple of questions.
Okay, sir.
So, first is Aman, can we begin with introducing yourself to me?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. My name is Aman Aggarwal, and I'm a student in Masters in Economics program at the Delhi School of Economics. Prior to which, I'd done my Bachelor's in Economics from the Shri College of Commerce. My schooling has been from modern school, Barakamba Road, New Delhi. And when it comes to my hobbies, sir, I like following and playing a lot of sports like cricket and basketball. I also enjoy following economics news, the macroeconomy, and also trying to formulate my own opinion or something maybe different as to how I would tackle, let's say, an economic situation, sir. And apart from that, I also like engaging in digital detox, which is staying away from gadgets and having my own personal space in terms of meeting people or going for a walk without any music or devices on me, sir. So that's about me, sir.
All right. So, Aman, you've been working on, you've been studying and writing academic papers and articles mainly on economics. So, with respect to behavioral economics, there are some economists that argue that in urban slums, in urban slums, their argument is that unless you open bank account for women, poverty cannot be eradicated. I repeat that unless we open bank accounts for women, let's say in urban slums, poverty cannot be eradicated. Can you tell me what are the benefits of giving a bank account to a woman who's living in an urban slum?
Yes, sir.
Take your time, think and tell me the answer.
May I take an attempt, sir?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. So for urban slums, what I think the statement might be referring to is that only when you provide a bank account to a woman who resides in the urban slum can you truly empower her, because then you help her partake in economic activities. Because now we see that there has been widespread usage of payment systems or the banking payment systems by youngsters and people equally in urban areas. So that can maybe give more avenues to women residing in urban slums. So, for example, they might be working as a housewife somewhere. They might be uh, employed in let's say, a shop as a worker, or even those kind of activities. So, when that combines with maybe, let's say, the male income, and given that prices are high and the cost of living might be higher in the urban areas, that
Aman,
aggregated income.
don't explain to me. Tell me one, two, three. What are the benefits?
Yes, sir. So, first, their ability to take on economic activities. Secondly, when they do so, the aggregated income of the male and the female, that opens a lot more opportunities for the family as a whole. And thirdly, also, sir, uh, having a bank account can also maybe allow the woman to herself, let's say, take some social services. For example, let's say the special healthcare that a woman requires, or the special need which the man may not recognize. So that, sir, might be addressed when the woman herself has a bank account to take economic activities or decisions herself.
Have you read any books on economics recently, Aman?
So I'm currently reading The $10 Trillion Dream, which has been written by Subhash Chandra Garg.
What is the central theme of the book?
So the book basically states that the current long-term steady state potential that we have of India, that is not up to the required level. That is only maybe somewhere around a 5 to 6%. So to augment that, which will be the need of the country to realize the demographic dividend, there needs to be a host of structural changes. So the book is centered around those changes or reforms that may be needed going forward, sir.
Aman, what does your name mean?
So my name means peace in English.
Can you tell me why we are unable to have peace with Pakistan?
So, sir, I think the thorn in relations between India and Pakistan, or the absence of peace, it dates back to the creation of Pakistan itself, in the conditions in which partition happened, which was on religious lines, and there was a lot of violence associated when it came to that event. So that, sir, was the beginning point. Then, so we had the Kashmir conflict, which again created a lot of noise and tensions between the two nations, and also the Cold War era, wherein the US sided with Pakistan, was supplying them arms and ammunition to fight against, fight against India, and then the wars came along. That's created a series of events which has led to poor ties between India and Pakistan, which is seen in absence of peace in the border areas. The countries not willing to trade with each other, not willing to engage at the international fora, or even cooperate in basic activities. So these, I think, are the broad factors.
So, Aman, we have tried to have Aman multiple times with Pakistan. If I were to ask you what is the single biggest problem when we are trying to have a dialogue with Pakistan is, then what is, according to you, that single biggest problem?
So I would say it's the divergence of interests of each nation on some particular issues. Firstly, Kashmir, that becomes the single most point of tension, sir. And also, sir, the inability to prioritize important issues. For example,
No, no, no. Forget about the issues. I'll give you a hint. It's not with respect to issues. Issues are created. There is Pakistan's domestic populations does not have so much issue with Kashmir than the establishment. So Pakistan's establishment needs Kashmir. The people don't need it as much. All right, so that's it. If I were to ask you, I'll let me rephrase it. If you were to ask the Indian Prime Minister, that what is the, or you have been appointed as an envoy by the Indian Prime Minister to speak to Pakistan, what would be your primary challenge? The Prime Minister has told you very clearly that even if you come and go and speak to the powers, whatever you agree, that will not be followed. He has given you a hint that whatever agreement, no matter what agreement you sign with it, it may not be fully followed. What is the reason? Think and tell me the answer.
so taking a cue from your hints, I would say it's the internal weaknesses of Pakistan. So if the political establishment in that country is not able to provide for its people or fulfill the promises that it has made, then it would need some issue to probably feed to its people. And the Kashmir becomes an important issue there, wherein you can probably highlight the Kashmir agenda and how you've been trying to build power there, and that becomes again a very an issue with political mileage, sir. So that I would say, sir, is the core issue.
No, okay, I'll give you another thing that, all right. So we had former Prime Minister Vajpayee go and speak to, there was a peace bus yatra. Bus yatra, है ना? Yatra was conducted. What is the reason that Pakistan failed to keep up? And then when he came back, by that time we had Kargil happening. What is the single biggest problem in Pakistan? Why the Prime Minister is saying something but something else is happening?
So then it will be the divergence of interest between the political establishment and the military establishment when it comes to the state of Pakistan. And we see that the military has been able to uh,
Yes,
turn the tables
correct.
there.
So
Yes, sir.
challenge will be to speak to Pakistan. Your biggest challenge is you do not know who to speak to,
Yes,
isn't it? You
yes, sir.
could speak to the Prime Minister, and then Pakistan itself has suggested that our military chiefs must speak to each other. है ना? But
Yes,
for the army chief in India to speak to another army chief on political issues is something that is, in India, they do not have a democracy in Pakistan. So therefore, the democratic leaders' promises mean nothing. You also have to speak to the ISI separately, the army separately, and the ulema separately. And a big challenge. Anyway, okay, that's all. Aman, what was your option subject?
so my optional subject was economics.
Economics. Okay. What is the reason that we see that economy is tanking or going down and the Sensex is booming? What explains this dichotomy?
So in the present times, the dichotomy exists because, first of all, when you look at the real economy, which is about production of goods and services, there you have both demand and supply issues. So we're living in a globalized world with integration of supply chains. And because of COVID and the Russia-Ukraine war, because there were disturbances there, that affected the production processes, sir. And also on the demand front, when you had something like the pandemic where incomes were affected and also the consumer sentiment was affected, there was also some decrease in demand. That's affected the real economy, which led to the contraction. But on the stock market, sir, that works on the availability of credit. And RBI, given the pandemic and given the contraction, has been keeping the interest very low, has been trying to pour more credit into the system. And also, sir, to some extent, there has been financial integration of people into the stock market and the share market as such. That, and the easy availability of money has led them to speculate in the stock market. And that's why we see that the stock market is booming and the real economy is not doing relatively or well compared to the stock market. And there's a dichotomy, sir.
Aman, you are from Katihar. You were born in Katihar in Bihar.
Yes, sir.
What major rivers flow through Katihar or nearby Katihar, causing annual floods in the area in the district?
So near Katihar, we have the Kosi flowing, which that passes through the state of the state of district of Katihar near the Barari region, which overflows its banks, and that Kosi is mainly responsible for floods around the Katihar area, sir.
Okay, is there any Mahanadi or something coming in there by any chance?
So I think it's Mahananda.
Mahananda, sorry, yes.
Yes, so that comes in from the Siliguri region, which also is responsible for floods, sir, but primarily attributed to Kosi.
All right. What is the major food crops that are grown in Katihar?
So firstly, the primary food crop is the maize that you have, the makai as you call it in the local dialect. Also, so makhana lies somewhere in the middle because it's also considered a food and a cash crop. But in Katihar, there is some people, because it becomes like it's a part of the diet. People do tend to refer to makhanas as a food crop, although so literature wouldn't take it that way, sir. And so there is also cultivation of rice in Katihar, although in some patches. But the major crops remains makai or maize.
Aman, what is the reason for backwardness of Bihar, according to you?
So I would say that the backwardness of Bihar started uh, a long time ago, which was I attribute it to the permanent settlement that started in the British era, which led to a huge dichotomy between the people, the few that controlled the lands, and then you had a large portion of the landless. That's given that Bihar could not have an industrial or a booming city during the time of the Britishers. You had Calcutta in Bengal, but you had no corresponding city in Bihar as such. When you come closer to the independence, and you had a series of land reforms which were not very effective in Bihar, so the issue of land persisted, sir. And when we took the policy of industrialization in the country, you had the freight equalization policy, which did not allow the then Jharkhand integrated Bihar to utilize its resources in the domestic area. So there was no path of concrete industrialization that could happen in the region, sir. And also, when you combine that with the law and order issues and the floods, which somehow deplete entrepreneurship on the confidence of entrepreneurs, sir, that has led to the backwardness of Bihar as we see it today, sir.
Aman, you are from Bihar, but you have not opted it as in your service preference. Bihar cadre has not been opted by you. What is the reason for that?
Yes, sir. So firstly, sir, my entire education, from the beginning, has been out of Bihar. First, I was in Siliguri, then I moved to Delhi. Currently, I'm working in Gurgaon. So I think I've really enjoyed being in serving or working at new places. So the desire for a new experience was definitely, sir, one of the factors. Also, sir, when it comes to serving for the All India services, sir, or the civil services. So I felt that I would be more suited, or rather more efficient, if I was serving at a different state, sir, because given that everybody who gets selected is suited to serve anywhere that they are posted to. So the kind of maybe behavioral stigma that I've seen with the civil services in the state, so I felt that I could do more justice, at least in that stage, being at a separate place, sir. So that it was my personal decision to not opt for Bihar and opt for other states, sir.
What is the reason that people from Bihar migrate out? What are the reasons for outward migration from Bihar?
Yes, sir. So first, you have the push factors in Bihar itself, wherein people, when they see that their friends or people from other parts of the country are getting access to more opportunities, they wish to relocate to more urban areas where they can find work easily and maybe even have access to better social services and get rid of the backwardness which uh, they feel plagues their states. And it's also the pull factors of the cities that they migrate to, which is the easy availability of jobs, uh, industrialization, which attracts them because that provides them with suitable opportunities. So I think these factors combined, where they think they can give a better life to their near and to the loved ones in a different place in terms of schooling, healthcare, that gets them to migrate outside.
All right. Why do you want to join the civil services?
So my desire to work in the civil services emanates from my interest in economics, because after reading so much of economics research and papers, I felt that the implementation part of policies is as important as maybe the policy formulation itself. So I think being at the ground, being at the places where these policies are really implemented, and having that conscience that the step that we are doing right now, which is the implementation part, is very crucial to the outcomes that we see, sir. I feel, sir, that has really attracted me to work in the civil services and probably do justice to what I've studied till now in the field of economics, sir.
All right. Thank you, Aman. Your interview is over.